Hi everybody, welcome to yet another video. So today we've got the brand new Porphis PRD815. Now I literally got this about 45 minutes ago. Came in a different box to normal. It's got on it exclusively for the international market. I'm not sure what that means, but anyway, I know what it means in words, but I'm not sure what it means overall. Anyway, so you get a different box to normal. What I wanted to do in this video is just doing an unboxing. I want to see the differences. I have already had this apart to see what the differences are between the 7 and the 6 series, and we'll run through that because it is quite different to the 7 and it is different to the 6, so it's sort of somewhere between the two. But I want to run through various things that are different. Obviously the styling is totally different, but we'll just see what you get in the box. You obviously get the gun. It's a nicely padded box. You get the service kit, which we'll go into a little bit later, and you just get the normal cup, which is M16 by 1.5. So I think it's S9 is the PPS adapter, should you want one. So that's what you get with it. As I say, we'll come to the service kit a little bit later. So the biggest thing you see that's the difference is the styling. That's the 7 series. That's the 8 series. Much more futuristic. Much more, I'm going to show me age now, much more Star Trek. But yeah, it's definitely like a change in styling, and the front end is quite different, which is why I've got these other two here to show you. We'll just do a quick spray out at the end just of this one to see what sort of pattern we're getting, and I'll bring you up a proper review of it in, I don't know, a week's time or so when I've had a chance to actually use it. A couple of mentions I must do really. This was supplied to me free of charge by Porphis, so a big thank you to them for doing that. We have a discount code which you can use with them if you want to. It's only 5%, but it's better than nothing. I'll put a link in the description, and it should take you directly to their website, and it should automatically apply the discount code. I know it works because I bought something the other day, which has just arrived this morning as well, on the website, so I know that it does actually work. So the other thing I need to mention is there's a company called RX Spray. I don't need to mention, but I'm going to mention them because they're in the UK and they actually import these things now. So I'll put a link in the description to their website, RX Spray. I think they're on eBay. Well, I know they're on eBay as well. Nothing to do with them. They're nothing to do with me, other than that, you know, I recognise the fact that when people start bringing equipment in, the same with Meiji and things like that, I mention them because I feel I should really, because I've been championing the brand, and when somebody like bites the bullet and brings them in, then I should mention them, so I do. So anyway, enough of all that. Let's look at the differences with the gun. So the biggest difference, as I say, is the styling. Other than that, controls and everything are as you would expect. So they're air control here, fluid control here, so it's the same as that. Or same as the 717. This is actually a 1.2 version, which is a new gun to me. But the 7 series are all the same, and your adjuster for the fan pattern on the side. Now this feels actually quite stiff, certainly stiffer than that one, which I don't mind at all. It means you're not going to be able to use your finger to do it. Well, you actually can. Yeah, you can. It just feels stiffer, but I quite like that. It means you're not going to inadvertently change your fan pattern. So that's the only thing that I've noticed. It just feels a bit stiffer. The other thing I noticed is that the base of this, on some of these guns, like these ones here, you've got a revolving base, and it's a never-ending revolving base. It's a similar system to what SATA use. There's a couple of other guns I've got, I can't remember what they are, but they use exactly the same system. Certain people find it really annoying. I personally don't. I don't mind it at all. But what they've come up with on the 8 series, or on this 8 series anyway, is it's a different, obviously this revolves within this. With this, that's revolving, you can actually see that turning. But with this, there's only one nut head, and that's obviously screwed to the body. So it revolves inside it, but what it's done is it's actually limited to about 200 degrees of turn. So if you want to put a regulator on like I do, you can literally just nip it up with your hand and take it off with your hand. So that's a good, I think that's a really good point. How long it will last and longevity, only time will tell. But I actually like the idea of that because it gives it some movement without going all the way around, and it means you can put a regulator on and off quickly, which I like to do. So that's the first thing I noticed about that. The only other thing that I've noticed that is the spring is the same as the 7 series. The needle is also the same as the 7 series. What is different is the front end. So if we look at, we'll compare caps with the 7 series I've got in a second, but the front end is quite different. So you've obviously got your fluid tip, and you've got a double baffle system here, which isn't as complicated as it sounds. So let's get this off. What it reminds me of is a DV1 type arrangement. The DV1 does exactly the same as this. So you've got your tip there, and you've got a secondary baffle, which is anodized aluminium there, and you've got a air deflection baffle here. Now that's actually screwed in by 2 screws, and underneath that is a gasket. I will take that off. When I first got this, as I said before, well, hopefully I said before, I did take it apart just before I did the video so that I had a remote chance of knowing what I'm talking about, as much as I do anyway. And the screws were loose. It was done up, but the screws were loose, so this baffle was moving. So quality control wasn't particularly good on this one. Hopefully that won't be a problem for everybody else, but just check that it is tight, because you're going to get air leaks and it's going to cause problems. And it's just a matter of, what is this, a T10, so torque screw number 10, and just do the screws up. Hopefully you won't have the same problem as I did. So I'll just undo these. These are actually quite long, well, relatively long considering, and we'll come to the part of the reason I was saying about the kit. Is that off? No. It's always awkward when you're doing these videos and something takes longer than it normally does, because I'm thinking, well, they're watching this and they must be getting really bored. So there's your gasket. Now, the reason I wanted to get the Series 7 and the Series 6 is, those that are familiar with the 7, and I know some of you won't be, but the 7 uses what I would call a SATA or a DV1 Base style seal on the base. Nothing wrong with that, works absolutely fine. I've not this particular one, I've only just got this, but I've got 7 series, 717s, 715s that I've had for 2 years now, 2.5, maybe even 3 years. I can't remember now whether it's 2 years or 3 years. No problems with them at all. So don't worry about that. You can get spare parts, very reasonably priced as well for these. But that's the sealing mechanism the 7 uses, but they've actually done away with that with the 8, because it seals at the base here. The base, there's a taper on that tip, so it's just purely a good engineering fit. So be careful not to drop the tip. I mean, you shouldn't drop the tip anyway, but be careful not to damage that, because that is actually your sealing area. And then they've normally, well, I say normally, they have just got a baffle, anodized baffle, and then you just have the gum. So what they've done with this is quite different, and it's very, very reminiscent of the DV1. Now, these baffles here, when you have to take them on and off for cleaning, they're, in my opinion, they're a bit of a pain. But because it's actually concealed and tightened down, so there's 2 screws holding it down, it's not a problem. The DV1, I've still got the original baffles on my DV1s, haven't caused me a problem at all, and I don't expect this to cause me any problem. That brings me to the service kit while I remember. They've given you a couple of spare screws. I don't know whether you can see it there, little screw there, there's 2 of them, for the baffle plate, but they haven't given you any seals. and one seal would be quite nice, just a spare seal. As I say, I don't think you're going to need it for ages, but it might be quite nice to just put it in there, because I know with the 7 series, and that's another reason for getting the 7 series, sorry, the 6 series, and that's another reason for getting the 6 series out, is that they do supply some seals with it, and the 5 series, which I've also got. And that has a similar system, but it's not screwed down. So this is actually a better system than this. Again, I've had no problems. Yeah, I've got some spare ones of those, but I've had no problems with it anyway. So I don't think any of it's going to be a problem. It's just more of an observation really than anything else. But I'll put that back where it's supposed to go. There's only one way. Well, there's not only one way that it can go, I don't think. Oh yeah, there is, because they're offset. Okay, that's like that. So I'll put this back on, and I'll just show you the final setup at the front, and we'll do a spray out of it. I think that's about it. I'll just compare the caps, because yeah, these do up nicely. The caps are the same, more or less, I think. I've actually done this video twice, and I did everything correct, but I got the wrong caps together. So PRD cap, I actually compared it to the 617 cap. So this is the PRD715, and this is the PRD815. So we just have a quick look. Hopefully you will get an idea of these two. They look very similar. So the holes are about the same size. Well, they look slightly bigger actually. Well, maybe not. If anything, they're slightly bigger. The holes in the air horn, hopefully you can see that. It looks slightly bigger on this, although that's nearer the camera. So I think they're more or less a similar cap. It's going to be an MP cap, what they call an MP cap. The outside of this is a galvanized aluminium, and the same with that, although that actually feels lighter. Sealing mechanism is exactly the same. I ring around the outside, never had any problems with that at all. Loads of manufacturers do that, and you've got just like a little pop-off circlet to remove it for heavy cleaning. So as I say, that is your baffle, and then you have this other air deflector plate which just goes on there, and then that screws on that seal. So there should be no seals to change. It's just that I always like to think that there's one in the kitty, or one in the service kit, just in case you ever need it. So expecting big things with this. So what I'm going to do is put a camera on my head, and we just do a spray out to see what sort of pattern it gives you, and then hopefully I'll get some proper reviews up on YouTube within a week or so. I've got plenty to do this week. It's a weekend coming up, but I've got plenty to do the weekend and this week, so I'll get plenty of chances to use it, and I'll see how it rates, and I'll try and get a video up quickly. But I was a little bit when Porphis announced this, the price tag of this is $375 US, so they're moving up price wise, and I just hope it delivers, is what I think, because I'm a big fan of the brand. I really do like their stuff. When I first started buying their stuff, it was, as I say, I think it's about 3 years ago now, and I was just blown away by the quality and the performance of it, and I just wanted to tell others, which is why I mentioned RX Spray, because as I say, nothing to do with me, but it's good to see somebody bringing the things over and selling them, and presumably offering some kind of service with them as well. Okay, so I'll put a camera on my head, stop rabbiting, and we'll see what pattern we get. Let's try a pattern test then. So this one here, I was saying, was about 200 degrees. I think it's probably about 300. See, it hits a stop, won't go any further, and the same there. So it will move around, but it won't spin. So some people are like that, some people won't, but it is different to the other guns. For this pattern test, I've got the fluid on full, as you'd probably expect. I've got the onboard air control fully open, and we're going to run it at 2 bar, so 29 psi. You need the onboard air control fully open to get a correct reading on the gauge, and we've also got the fan pattern fully open, so everything's fully open. The fluid is 18 seconds on a DIN 4 or a Ford 4 cup, so it's representative of, well, it is in fact a HS clear, so it's a high solids clear. It's just got some pigment in it, because normally I put this on a white background, but on here you would see it anyway. But I've done exactly the same as I normally do, so that's the viscosity of it. And we'll just see what sort of pattern we get. I'll use this is a 7-inch Iwata spanner, 175mm, just to give us an idea of distance really. In reality you probably be a little bit closer. I tend to spray a little bit closer, but it depends you know, what turns you on really. Right, let's see what we've got. Make sure the camera's lined up. Yep. So it's very much an eye pattern. Yeah, it's a nice pattern though. That's a nice pattern. So there we have it, the PRD815. As I say, I'll try and get a proper review up once I've used it. Cheers guys.